Send it to me. And then we'll talk about the social media dilemma, the topic of the podcast today. I have a bunch of notes over here, so anybody who's watching the video will notice me looking over here. I've actually drafted a blog post about this. A few months ago, we had a lot of conversations around social media. Should we use it? Is it healthy? Is it good for us? If the negatives of social media are so significant for personal use, then perhaps as a company, we shouldn't use it. And we didn't answer all those questions. We merely presented them. At least I presented them in a big way. And I want to touch on those here for anybody who's listening. Should your company use social media? Should you personally use social media? It's a question that I've been wrestling with for years. I don't have any friends anymore on my Facebook account. I kind of deleted it and then re-added it just so I could manage our company account. But one of our main challenges as a small business is, how do we connect with potential clients outside of our network? It's tough. We ask for events, or we ask for referrals, or we go to events, or we share advice to our email list and hope that people share that advice with other people. But it can be tough. It can be tough to generate some buzz or connect with people outside of our circles, the people that are connected to the ripples in the pond that we make. So how do we grab the attention of people outside our network? Well, that's where social media is alluring. Social media has some significant upside in that, some significant potential. We can do a podcast or a blog post and share it to our social media page and hope that somebody else sees that and they like it, or they share it with their network and someone in their network likes it. And eventually the ultimate goal is to give something so that we get something in return. We get more awareness of our products and services. We get more respect or notice among potential customers. And then those potential customers come to us and want to work with us. I think that's the ultimate goal of all of marketing efforts. And Dad, that's the main question that I've been struggling with, that we've been struggling with for a while now, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a big challenge. And the flip side of that is that I'm still seeing people have success using traditional methods, getting referrals from existing clients, referrals from employees, referrals from their network, and doing events and more and doing phone calls, the traditional things, or even stop-ins. So where does social media fit? Because it can be such a huge time suck. And you can spend your entire day doing all kinds of stuff on social media, and some people claim that really works. But if you do that for 6 hours or 8 hours a day, where do you do your real work?
Yeah.
So I'm interested in what you have to say. I'm with the audience. Come on, bring it on, Jeff. Let's hear what you have to say.
So most of what I have to say are simply worries about whether we should use social media at all. So I have a number of these that I'll go through. And the first one I want to touch on is kind of from a personal perspective, because, Facebook came out when I'm in the Facebook generation, basically. Mark Zuckerberg released it when I was in college or close to college. And so we were probably one of the first ones to start using it. If anybody who used Facebook remembers from back then, you had to have a college email address in order to join Facebook. And it wasn't until after a certain period of growth that they opened it up to everybody else. And along the way, and as multiple products, came about, other alternatives, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace was super big. People started to realize that it wasn't really the best use of their time to be on these social media sites. It was great to connect with people. It was great to stay connected to someone that you were in high school with and they went to college in another state or another city. But with the introduction of, more complicated posting methods and everybody has a wall, and then the private messaging features and the problems expounded. It's like the problems in our personal lives became larger in the digital world, and they just spilled over. So the overall dilemma I have with social media is that I don't think it's particularly healthy for individuals to use it. That's like the starting point for me when I think about it. I don't use social media myself unless it's to post something on one of our company pages on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook.
So, I mean, although we talk about business, why do you feel it's bad for individuals?
So personal experience and some of the research that I've done, the headlines I've seen. Like I ask in my blog post that I wrote on this, I ask, have you ever seen an article with this headline? Experts agree social media is great for you. No, like I've never seen an article like that. I don't think anybody has. And I think it's the internet tends to bring out a lot of negative things, and social media is at the forefront of that. For instance, a study from the University of Missouri found that individuals who use Facebook excessively are far more likely to experience Facebook-related conflict with their romantic partners, which may then cause negative relationship outcomes, including emotional and physical cheating, breakup, and divorce. Another article referenced by Alice Walton in Forbes lists 6 ways social media affects our mental health. Well, guess what? None of them are good. It's like,
and you and I don't use it personally. I mean, I barely use it business-wise. And then the other thing is, this whole, so many of us, including you to a certain extent, although I hate to say it, we're raised in a performance-oriented type family. We're going to go out and perform, whether it's good grades or sports or whatever it is. And then you go to social media, and as most people, if somebody hasn't heard this, I'd be shocked, but people are just putting out their best stuff. Nobody's putting out, here's the F I got on my test yesterday, or I got fired yesterday and they were right. I really deserve to be fired. You never see that. And so it's like this massive keep up with the Joneses. Let's go build low self-esteem by looking online so we can see how perfect everybody else is. It's really weird.
yeah,
I mean,
it's strange. It's narcissistic. It's often most posts are very selfish and self-promoting.
Now I want to catch myself there, because I do know some people who use it where they're kind of updating buddies. And it's just like, we were out for this, or we were doing this. And I guess I can see that, because I'm thinking of one person in particular. I don't want to mention his name because I don't want to disagree. But, he's on there a lot, but he's posting, kind of, here's what we did, and he comments on other persons. So for him, it is an interactive type of thing. And I can't say, I certainly wouldn't say it's an ego thing for him. It's just a comfortable way for him to communicate, because although he's a good leader, he's a great leader, former client, he's also somewhat introverted. So, and he's a tech by background. So, and he types lightning fast. So for him to kind of post some things quick and do photos here or post an opinion, I think it kind of comes naturally to him. But overall, I agree with you. It's a pretty difficult space on if you want reality and you want connection, real connection.
Yeah, and so that comes to the heart of what we do as a business, how we operate our business. If this area of the social sphere is not helping people overall it's negative, which I don't think the consensus is that it's 100% negative. So I just want to be clear to anybody who's listening. I think there's definitely some, just like you said, there's some cool things you can share that, and it's amazing what the capabilities of it's amazing the capabilities the internet has given us as far as communication and sharing information and education. Like, those cannot be understated. Social media does play a big part of that. However, the downside, it's hard to overlook the downsides. It's really hard to as a company to look at something where people are really struggling with their interaction and the effects that it has on them, and to want to support that with our own activity.
What do you mean? Are you crossing the personal and the business?
I don't think you can disconnect the personal and the business. I think that's a really important connection we need to make, in that we all bring our personal lives into our business lives, where they're connected, and some people can keep them as separate as you can really well. Like Neil Hennessy, in who we had on the podcast, said he doesn't even have business email on his phone. And, he's in the office. When he's in the office, he's at work, he's there, and of course he needs to be there for when the stock market's open, because he's running Hennessy funds. But not everybody can do that. And even in that situation, Neil is intricately connected personally to his business. How he runs his business is very structured in the way he wants to do it. And a lot of that comes from him. It comes from us. Businesses are made of people. So I think this is all connected. And as a business, it's important to recognize what you are doing and know why you are doing it, and be okay with the fact that some aspects of things that you are engaging in or promoting, and by engagement, it's basic, it's part of promoting something and supporting it, that that is telling to what you believe in your vision and your values. And yeah, I don't think you can disconnect the personal from the business side.
Yeah, but I mean, wait a minute. What if you're not just taking it and you're looking at it as a channel or as a repository for, here's the news on our organization. Yeah, whether you're posting personnel changes or new products you're offering, or we were at this event or whatever, but it's basically just a news channel for your organization. It may not attract a lot of leads, but then if somebody wants to consider you, they could go to one of those, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and say, okay, what's going on with this company? What about that? I mean, that stays all business.
Yeah, I definitely think that's valuable, and that's where social media has its big value proposition. Or it's one of the pieces of it. It's they can connect us in ways that, in one place. That's another thing. All of it's consolidated in one place. If every company has a social media page, you can go to one social media site and browse through them, or give them feedback, or look at their updates. So I think that's definitely a value add. For this particular detrimental effect, let's say, or consideration, I think it's important for us as individuals and as business to recognize that there's some really unhealthy parts of social media. And maybe the solution to that is, if you're going to engage with social media, is to be conscious of that fact and promote positive ways of interacting with social media, not only actually it would be in your company practices. So let's make sure we do this, but not do these other things, because this is not really going to help customers or whatever. Let's not engage in fights on Facebook. Let's not, post discriminating information. Let's not share, let's not get deep into the customer interaction on these social media platforms, because they don't seem very private. That's another topic. Instead, let's use them to connect with people, and then bring them into, more secure forms of communication, so we can deal with their issues, or, receive their feedback.
What about this whole thing about whether it's Google or Facebook or whatever, where they're banning certain sites or opinions? Or I saw some 8 million person knitting site or something like that was banning that you could not say anything positive about President Trump.
So we're going to get to that.
Okay. I'm kind of curious. I mean, you're putting all this effort into these sites that you're going to be able to post what you want. And what if they don't like the fact that, you believe in Microsoft as your platform instead of, some other, the Google platform or something? I don't know. How much of that censoring and stuff is going on?
That's a great point. I'm going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
I get that. Yeah. Or not in a second, but in like a few minutes. Let me move on though. So I wanted to start with the personal, and then move out towards more business oriented material. And the second item that I think is really important to talk about is, so the first item was kind of psychological, and the second item, it has a psychological aspect to it, but it's more about rights, I suppose. And I guess it would be about right to privacy. So my headline there is social media is a likely accomplice to the murder of privacy. So
I like the line.
thank you. I appreciate that. So here's one quote from an article on Seeker.com, SEEKER.com. When Ashkan Soltani, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, an online privacy research and consultant, analyzed third-party tracking beacons on 50 of the most visited sites, they dumped an average of 64 tracking technologies onto users' computers. A lot of people have said privacy is dead. I think one of the dilemmas, or one of the contributing factors to the dilemma of social media, is that people have put so much personal information on there that it's a major player in this whole death of privacy phenomenon in the digital age. And I think that's a serious detriment that needs to be taken into account. Like I just said, when you're considering as a business how to engage with customers on social media, it would probably be wise to focus on the positive things and simply connecting with people, and then take any other deeper connection, whether it's customer issues or feedback, into your own sphere of communication. Like don't let a person, don't get into a Twitter fight, don't get into a rant. Try and bring your people that want to connect you into your sphere of communication, so that it's private, so that you're not sharing details on these public pages that people can find out, because we are being tracked. We have to assume now, based on all the information we have, that all the information over the internet is being tracked. Well, let's not say all that. All the information on social media sites is quite likely being tracked. I don't want to put on the tinfoil hat here. But if just the top 50 sites are dumping an average of 64 tracking technologies onto your web browser whenever you visit them, that's just the top 50. It doesn't mean every single other site isn't doing it. And a lot of sites probably are. So when it comes to social media, due to the nature of social media and the information that we share, it's in part doesn't seem healthy, because we're voluntarily giving up all of this information in, either publicly or through means that we perceive to be more private. Let's say I shared something on my Facebook wall, and we think that's private, but it's really not. I mean, there's just, I believe Facebook is recently going into dealing with a lawsuit based on security breaches and privacy issues. I should have looked at that before we started, but we're sharing so much information. If social media is a likely accomplice to the murder of privacy, well, that's something we need to keep in mind if we're going to use it.
But I think this is consistent with what we coach. So when we're coaching with clients, we say that if you have anything negative to say, you need to go have that conversation verbally. You don't text, you don't instant message, you don't email. You go have a verbal conversation. And in the same way, you wouldn't want to do it online. And one of the reasons you didn't use the term, but basically alluded to it, I mean, it lives forever online. So if you put that online, whether they claim it's private to you, it's not. It's online.
Right.
So it's a record, and whoever owns that database owns that record. And I'm sure in that tiny type that they have in legalese, they have the right to use it in some way, shape, or form that you're not really aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just the first layer. I mean, if we did want to play the conspiracy theorist for a minute, I think we wouldn't be so. I don't think we would be overstepping our bounds in saying that it's based off of the news that we received and the revelations from, say, Edward Snowden and other whistleblowers, then it's highly likely that governments around the world are tracking and are tapping into the information that flows over the net, and we don't really know how much of it they are recording and taking in. Um, and to me, that I think that's a big part of it too, because uh, well, government represents power. If one social media site is tracking you and saving your information and exploiting your privacy by selling all your metadata without explicitly letting you know, well, you can stop using that social media site. It's a lot harder to stop. Well, it's a lot harder to leave your country if you don't like their policies, and that's a
Well,
much bigger issue. But
yeah, and I know a missionary in Africa, and he says in all of his emails, he says, "Do not post anything about what I'm doing online
oh, really?
because I'm working in some dangerous countries, and they track Facebook, they track, these other sites to find us and kill us."
Oh, wow.
And he said, "You can send me anything, email. Email's fine, but you can't post anything. Please don't post anything."
Yeah.
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 So
Jeez, that's a real life scenario right there.
yeah.
Let's see. So the next item is that it's. I thought at first it's kind of a minor one, uh, but well, let's categorize it as a minor one for now. And that is that the social media, yeah, thanks. Social media and the internet overall, I think it needs to be understood that it's not necessarily the greatest source of reliable information. So if you're using social media, there's a lot of information flowing back and forth. There's a lot of he said, she said, a lot of miscommunication, especially if you only have 280 characters now for Twitter. And it's just this inefficient way to communicate. And gullible people are posting all sorts of information, incorrect information all the time. Not to mention any other site you go to is quite likely. There's been controversies with Snopes, Wikipedia having editors. I believe there's been, if you look at the pages for, let's say, like a senator or something, like all the editors are from are in Washington D.C., which makes sense. It's their staffers and whatever lobbyists they want to punch up the resume of these political figures. But Wikipedia even has a page. It's Wikipedia. It's titled "Wikipedia is not a reliable source." It's like people quote Wikipedia all the time. And it's funny how this has been adopted as just a place to go to find information on things, but it's not really a reliable source. So hey, it's like what is going on here? Like, what? This doesn't make any sense, especially to my brain, which is, as you know, quite analytical and logical.
Well, in some ways, this whole approach makes sense though, because you have Gen Y and now Gen Z coming up, who are being raised in very much postmodern society, where there are very loud people who are saying there is no absolute truth, which is ironic because that statement is an absolute truth, but they're saying there's no absolute truth. And so, and the sad thing is what you're saying. People see something written online, and they say, "Well, it was online. It was written, but it's an opinion. It's not fact."
Right.
Or it's a fabrication that's intentional, which is even worse, but they don't get it. They think that just because they have an opinion trumps fact, or it's at least equal to. And in the end, I'll go with what I feel like I want to go with, and it doesn't work in many situations. So it's kind of bizarre. I'm glad you bring that up. I do rely on Wikipedia. That makes me wonder. I mean, I wonder what the app costs for Encyclopedia Britannica or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, and the thing that gets me is that a lot of people, I don't hear anybody talking about the fact of the how fragile the digital revolution is when it comes to information. So that old 1984 quote that those who control the present control the past. If you control the past, you control the future. And it really speaks to this. There's been a number of controversies with people editing Wikipedia articles to change them to whatever, suit whatever goal they have, or
Yeah.
to delete information that may be pertinent. And it's really scary. Like when Amazon brought out the Kindle, and there was that controversy about people realized once they read the fine print that you didn't actually own the books you purchased, that Amazon could take them away whenever they wanted to, based on it was something like that. Yeah, I may
Yeah.
have the details incorrect, but yeah, not only could Amazon take them away, but they have control over the device, and CNN has control over their website, and a bunch of people have control over Wikipedia. Apparently, you could, like, nothing is with the written word. You produce a book and sell it, and it's out there. You can't change it. You could try and get all the copies and burn them and then reprint, an edited version, but
Yeah.
you can't change it. And with the digital sphere, it just takes, a line of code or just a simple change to text, um, to change something that poof, it's gone. All of a sudden, it's totally different. For me, it's kind of frightening. I've been thinking one of the things that as a society we need to do is purchase old books, because if somebody wanted to, if they had enough power, they could just, if they're all digital versions, they could just rewrite the digital versions. They'd be like, no, this is what they said. Look at this. Now it says that. People are like, wait a minute, it used to say something different.
Yeah, well, but you're seeing that a lot with people. You have, I think they're called history revisionists, who are trying to revise history. You have a group that wants to say the Holocaust never happened.
Hmm.
And I don't know whether all the details are right about the Holocaust, about how many people were actually gassed or whatever like that. I don't know about that, but it definitely happened.
Yeah.
And you have people that want to wipe it out and say, oh, no, it never happened. And so you have these things happening. Once again, it's opinion, it's people who want their way. And that's the problem, is when you look at this digital environment, and if you allow it to fuel more post-truth type of thing, then the bullies win. The rich people and the bullies win because they can do whatever they want. You can't stop them.
Yeah. Yeah. The golden rule: whoever has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. So anyway, but we're going off a little bit on a rabbit trail. But
Yeah.
staying with
Well,
your social media thing, what you're saying is you got to beware. Not everything's truthful.
correct. And social media is just a really, it's really efficient at spreading, I guess, fake news. I think there's a reason why that term resonated. Some people don't like it, but there's a reason that it resonated with people. Like, yeah,
Hey, Joseph Goebbels of the Nazis would have loved it.
yeah, yeah, it's true. All right. And there's one other thing I want to touch on this, and that is, have you seen the deep fake videos?
The deep fake?
So deep fake videos, they now have technology where they can take just one photo, but they can also take a clip, like a video clip of you or somebody else, anybody, doesn't really matter. They've done it with the Mona Lisa, and they have orchestrated it so they can take a video of like a someone, like a blank, right? And that person is talking, and then they can take the information from the photograph or the video of the target and interlace those facial features onto the video of the person talking. So it looks like that target is saying whatever the person is saying or talking in that way. You gotta check it out. Anybody who's interested in this, just look up the deep fake videos. And Joe Rogan was talking about this. It's insane. Talk about fake information. We're gonna have fake
does
videos.
it have a digital footprint or something like that, where if somebody actually looked like it, they could see that it was doctored?
Yeah, you can tell there's some slight changes to somebody's, like their collar will be folded over 1 second, and then the next frame it'll be upright, or little subtle changes in their musculature of their face, it's not their face, of the face that is presented in the video. People have pointed those out, but in the really good ones, it's really tough to find those things, or if they even exist at all. So people were actually thinking there's a group of people that don't believe Julian Assange is alive anymore. So they've scrutinized all his videos and pointed out some things that look kind of funny. Who knows if they're true or not? But like it was, I think I remember it was like a collar or like something in the face where he was supposedly doing an interview, but it wasn't really him. Basically, it could have been one of these deep fake things. And they were like, "This isn't real." I mean, they
All
might
right.
be right. Who knows?
All right. We'll bring you back to business social media.
Okay. So now we go to the business side. And Dad, you have a hard stop pretty soon, right?
About 15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll wrap it up. So I have a couple things on when it comes to the business and social media that are more focused. So the first thing is that the breakout potential of viral content does not often lead to increased revenue. So the idea is that we'll share a post and it'll become viral and people will love us and we'll get like our 15 minutes of fame. And then through that, we'll get new customers and a wider audience and more followers. But the fact is, it's more like playing the lottery. It's not necessarily true. In order to do that, first, you have to have a following of people who will share your stuff. So it takes a lot of work. And I think that's something that is overlooked when it comes to social media. A lot of people just put up a Facebook page for their company and then, yay, great, we're done. But it needs to be said that if you have this idea about, I'm going to create a social media, presence, and then I'm going to share this awesome piece of content and it's going to, blow up and we're going to get a bunch of new customers. Well, guess what? That's just unlikely. So that's one thing I think that needs to be taken into account with business. On the alternative, instead of that, if you're going to try to use social media for your benefit, you need to really work at it. It takes time and effort. And one of the quotes I found was a site called spartanmedia.com, where this guy actually had a viral post. And he said, success isn't one event. It's a culmination of all the small things you do over a long period of time. And he was just speaking to how all the different factors that go into having a viral post, it's really a one-time thing. If you don't have anything to back it up, or if you haven't done the work on the forefront to, prepare for it, I guess, then you're not going to go anywhere. There's a lot of difficulties inherent in it too.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. That's one of the things you talked about earlier. It takes time. So I think it also takes a lot of focus and strategy.
Yes.
You can waste a lot of time online. So you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know how to connect the dots.
I agree. Okay, my next thing is outright censorship on social media. So it's talking about censorship. So this is where we get to the censorship piece. I have a list of things on these controversies where, Facebook has deleted somebody or banned somebody. Twitter has deleted or banned somebody. YouTube recently removed thousands of videos pushing extreme views based on what they believe. It's their own arbitrary criteria on extreme views. And I think when it comes to your business, this is a really important thing to keep in mind, because let's say you do develop a following. Let's say you do have a viral post that goes viral. Well, if you make a splash and then all of a sudden one of these companies decides that your product, people that are connected to your company are not okay, not appropriate. Well, now they've basically proven it. If they don't like what you're saying, they can remove it.
So you mean all that development work we've done on a Facebook alternative platform, we can't promote it on Facebook or they're going to shut us down?
I'm sure they would. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised unless you're a blue check Twitter user that Twitter shuts down any mention of Gab. It's like
Gab.
You never heard of Gab?
No.
Gab.com now. They're basically a Twitter clone, but they purport to promote free speech. So whereas Twitter has censored and locked a lot of accounts of people who are promoting unfavorable ideas. So
yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of shocking and you wonder about it. On the other hand, you have to think, okay, is there anything that I could support that would be blocked?
Hmm.
And that's where you get into some gray areas. Um, I'm not going to want that, you're promoting sex trafficking, right? Or slavery, or promoting murder, or you're teaching how to create nuclear bombs. So where do and then you start coming up with some ideas. And what do you do with that? I don't know. It's not easy decisions, but it does seem like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, those type of things, Google, I think too, has done some things that are like, well, wait a minute. I didn't was it Google? No, YouTube. It was one of them that blocked some right wing guy recently. I don't even know who he is. I never heard him, but they blocked some right wing guy. He was an extreme view, and I was thinking, well, that's interesting. Did you block the left wing person that is like the alternative view? I mean, if you're going to knock one out at this level, are you going to knock the other one out? Or is he the only one on the right hand side? There's not just one. And I didn't follow it. I didn't get into it. And I don't even, as I say, I don't even know the guy. But it's really murky territory when you get into it.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think they're really they're stepping in the mud here, and they're getting their feet dirty. And I don't think it's a good practice. They've stepped outside of enforcing enforcing the law, as in, removing content that is prohibited by law. And
Yeah.
they've stepped into creating their own laws, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a good idea, personally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Longer discussion
trouble.
potentially, but
Yeah.
the bottom line for a business is if you have some extreme views, you should keep them to yourself and not post them.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do if you're going to use those social media sites.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last point is social media is not a level playing field. It is actually rigged in favor of established media. Now, this one's a pretty strong point with maybe some soft evidence, but the one piece of evidence that I'm really sure about is that there's a YouTube video that I linked to in my blog post. It's called "What 40,000 Videos Tell Us About the Trending Tab." And what they did is they took data from, over 6 months in 10 different countries, talking about the trending tab on YouTube. The trending page shows all the videos that are, gaining views and people are watching usually newer videos. And what they found was a lot of the trending videos, quote unquote, were from established media parties like the late night TV shows or CNN or Fox or whatever. But they weren't getting it's nearly the amount of views that independent creators were getting. So it's like the playing field was shifted in favor of these bigger media companies, and these videos are being featured along independent creators or filling the section with and pushing out independent creators, and it's nobody knows why, as far as I can tell. I mean, it's seems obvious to me that they're paying for some sort of service to have their videos promoted. But it was saying like there's independent creators with millions of followers, and they get 500,000 views on a video that newly published, and then something like the Daily Show video gets 10,000 views, and all of a sudden they're both on a trending tab right next to each other. And some of those algorithms have to be looked into and looked at the place of, okay, how many views do this person typically get? Maybe they're getting a lot of likes. Maybe trending. Maybe there's different variations of trending, quote unquote, that they want to account for, and they want to include all types of some variety in there. But the problem was in this example that they gave that wasn't what was happening. They were just overwhelmingly favoring these established media companies. So when it comes to social media, if you are a small player, I'm sorry to say, it kind of looks like the chips are stacked against you in some regards. And that's discouraging.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be news though. people should have figured it out. But so if you're going to wrap this thing up for businesses and how they're using social media, you want to run through your list? How you want to wrap this up?
Yes.
Because what's my takeaway?
Yes. So at the end of my article, I talk about the solutions, the potential solutions. So I identified 3 different solutions. The first one is the principled refusal. A company called Basecamp, usually, they take strong stances on how they do business. And one thing they did was they went Facebook free. After these data privacy issues with Facebook, they said, forget it. We're not using Facebook anymore. Just that's it. No Facebook, no Instagram, because Facebook owns Instagram. And they said, we're going to live by our values and the way we believe. They develop software. So the way we believe this should be run and people's, data should be protected. Facebook doesn't live by our values. We don't like what they're doing. We're not going to use Facebook anymore. And they encourage everyone else to do that as well on their blog. So that's one option, the principled refusal. Hope your target market will admire your ethical stance. The second one is the bare minimum. I think keep your social media pages, keep your company pages, great. Post to them, whenever you feel like it, or, once a month or once every 6 months, just to keep the account active. But otherwise, don't pay attention to them. At least you have a presence. At least nobody else takes your account and pretends to be you. That might be a good solution for anybody who doesn't want to use it. And number 3, the tactical chatterbox. Now, I don't know if that's the right name yet. It's still a draft form, but it's basically engage as much as you can in order to reach as much of the audience as possible. As much as there's problems with these things, with social media in general, you cannot deny that there's people using it and that you can reach people that way. So if you are going to use social media, there's no reason to go halfway, because it's just not going to do what you need to do. You need to develop a strategy, and you need to broadcast on all channels as much as possible. And those are 3 solutions I can think of to get past. So those are 3 options.
Yeah. So it sounds like 3 different phases, so you can choose which one makes sense to you.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's good. But it's, you could have talked all day about this stuff because there's so much on it.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the key, I would suggest that the key that you're recommending is be intentional and choose one of these 3 approaches and stay true to it. So
yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. Yes. I encourage people to have a conversation about it and figure out exactly what they want to do, because being true to what you value as a company, as people, I think is the most valuable take here, and it's the thing that you can do that will make your company stand out eventually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great.
All right, that's it.
Thanks for organizing it, sharing it.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody wants to check it out can check out my blog post. I'll have it posted by the time I post the podcast episode.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
All right.